Welcome to the Man Whore Podcast.
Shout out to all the magical mermaids and condom fairies. This is Billy Procida, and you're listening to the Man Whore Podcast. Hello, you wonderful, gorgeous people, and even the not-so-gorgeous ones. I am your host, comedian Billy Procida. If you are new to my program, this is a podcast where I typically talk to women I've hooked up with about sex, dating, and why we didn't work out. Yeah, that last one can get kind of rough sometimes, a little bit of blow to my ego here and there. This week we have got on a friend of mine, past partner, hopefully one day a future or present partner at some point. Once again, Jennifer is on the podcast. It's actually her third time recording this podcast, and this is the first time you're hearing of her. We're going to explain why later. But first, no show dates, people. No show dates. I instead have a little bit of a message from a very favorite guest of the podcast. The most emailed, tweeted about, commented about guest. The no hands down favorite past partner of mine from this show has been Mistress J from episode 2. Jay has just been a fan favorite for a long ass time. Every time y'all tell me nice things about her, I always shoot her a text and be like, "Hey, somebody said this. Look what someone had to say about you." And I recently reached out to Jay to see if she would be interested in coming back on the pod for a third appearance. She was on twice during the first 6 or 7 months of this show, back when it was just an infant baby podcast. And I'm going to be honest with y'all. She was a little hesitant. She was not pleased with some of the things that I talked about during her episodes, especially some things that had to do with her body. They were positive things, but she just didn't like me talking about it kind of without even warning her, which I understand. Back when I was an infant host, I thought everything had to have an angle, and I was like, this is, obviously I looked at her and was like, that I'm looking at her and this is her angle. When really she is her own angle. I mean, Jesus, she's such a badass. Just go with that. But, she took offense to some things, and I've since apologized for them, and we are on good terms. But she was hesitant. She did, though, pass along this. She texted me, "Feel free to tell your listeners I have a message for them." I'm doing my best to do as close to a J tone of voice as possible. "I'm super glad my stories resonate with you all and you find my feistiness endearing. I'm still being a kick-ass dom with many new tricks up my sleeves and spending more time helping people embrace their sexualities. I'm still curvy, I still love my body, and I still think Billy can be a dick sometimes. Keep chasing pleasure." Love it. It's exactly what it's the type of text message I love about Jay. That's why I'm just like, she's so great. That's my type of woman, isn't it? A gorgeous gal who's into fun sex, who also will tell me when I'm being a dick. So I don't know. If she did say that if y'all have questions for her, she might contemplate fielding them. So I don't know, people. If you have any comments or questions about Mrs. Jace from episode 2, and then also I think like episode 20 or 30 something, shoot them over my way at manwhorepod@gmail.com. Hey, maybe we can convince her to change her mind and come on back one last time. Okay, time for less happy text messages. On Friday, for those of you who follow me on social media, you know that I got up into some wonderful, sexy trouble early on Friday morning. And I, on Twitter and Instagram and such, I share my, just like I do in this podcast, sometimes I share some explicit details of my sex and dating life. Sometimes not even explicit details, just that things have happened. Sometimes it's like, oh, I'm getting ready for an orgy, trying to pick out an outfit. Sometimes it's like, oh man, I hope this Craigslist gangbang works. And that's because that's what I do for a living. I professionally overshare, right? Well, I posted on my Instagram story something that deeply troubled and offended someone very close to me. It was, I'm not going to say exactly who, but it was a female family, a millennial female family member, we'll say. That doesn't really narrow it down much because I got a big ass Italian family. We got lots of cousins. I got 2 sisters. We got a lot of people in this family who are under the age of 40. And it was deeply troubling what I got sent, what she texted me. What happened? What set her off? Well, Friday morning, I arranged a really hot stranger play scene with a gal from Bumble. We arranged for her to leave a key to her apartment hidden outside in her bushes. And then on Friday morning, I woke up at 4:50 in the morning, which you got to know means that I was fucking excited about this because I don't wake up before 9 a.m. unless it's really fucking important. And I woke up 4:50 in the morning, got myself put together, took a cab to her part of Brooklyn, and then I snuck into her building, snuck into her apartment, consensually snuck into her bedroom, and woke her up by eating her pussy. That was the plan. That was the whole deal. A her pleasure first encounter wake up call. And I was so stoked for it. I've had this fantasy for a really long time. And it was great. I didn't think we were going to pull it off. I thought I was going to sneak in and like knock something over or scare the cat or do something that caused her to wake up before I actually reached the bed. But no, it went off without a hitch. And I shared this on my Instagram story. I shared like me talking excitedly about this encounter as I was waiting for my Uber to show up early in the morning. I talked about it after when I was waiting for my car to take me back home so I could go back to sleep. And nothing terribly explicit. It was really just like, hey, here's what I'm going to do. I'm really stoked for it. And it's all about her pleasure. And I noticed that this particular family member viewed my Instagram story. And before that story starts, I put in a slide that said, to all my family members and people who are uncomfortable with my sex life, do not tap further. And this family member tapped further, and she was not pleased with what she saw. So I noticed that she had watched the Instagram story, but stopped like 1 or 2 slides short. So it was like clearly someone was not liking what they saw. So I texted her in a joking way. I was like, hey, I warned you. And she texted back something like less playful. She said, no need to warn me. I just feel bad for you that you feel the need to virtually scream to everyone that you had sex. To me, it's very sad. It screams insecurity. I know to you, it screams individuality and freedom. But the rest of us just see how deprived you are of attention. Facts are facts. If you get to say whatever you want to other people, I'm sure as hell going to start telling you how I really feel. And, that wasn't pleasant to read. And I shared with her, I told her that was pretty unfortunate. But this is my career. My career is sharing my sex and dating life with people. For some reason, y'all are interested, so I share it, right? I wouldn't be posting about some like Craigslist encounter on my Instagram otherwise. Because before I had this podcast, I kind of kept that stuff to myself, or I kept it to like the stage in a joke format. She responded, one day no one is going to listen to a podcast that entails you talking about your sexcapades. No one is going to send you money or buy you flights or your bed frames. I'm so curious to wait and see how the fuck you plan on supporting yourself then. I always defend you, but sometimes I'm just like, what the fuck is he doing and why? Is he this desperate for love and attention? I know this comes from your childhood and all the love you didn't get, but hey, do whatever makes you happy. I'm just not always going to support it anymore. Which hurts to read, especially from someone so close to me. And she continued, there's a fine fucking line between being sexually expressive and absolutely vulgar. I'm all for having sexual freedom, and that's fine that you talk about it often. I'm disturbed by your choice of words, and I feel that it's disrespectful to say those words about women's bodies. If you're all for women's rights and all that jazz, to me it's degrading as a woman for a male to go broadcast on social media that he's going to, quote, eat her pussy. That's disgusting and objectifying, and I don't fucking like it. I take offense to it, and I hope if you heard a guy speak like that about me, you would be pissed. Now, Billy deals with, hurt and anger and sadness and stuff typically through humor. So, of course, a more smartass response kind of came out of my mouth because, my instinct reaction was, because like my knee-jerk reaction was to mention, hey, if he was excitedly talking about giving you pleasure, I would not take offense. You know what I think is offensive? Not eating pussy. Looking at you, DJ Khaled, whoever you are. I don't listen to music. And granted, like I know this family member also, like, in the last year or two took like her first gender studies, sexuality course. Like, good for her. Seems like some sex negative second wave feminist nonsense kind of in here. Because of course I wasn't graphically talking about like, yeah, boys, I'm getting some pussy, gonna go fuck. No, I was talking about going to give a woman a wonderful wake up call where I was giving her oral and was not expecting anything in return. And we didn't fuck. I didn't have any orgasm that morning. It was all about pleasing the woman, which I don't find to be objectifying at all. Seems like she was offended by the word pussy, which I guess you're allowed to not enjoy. But I also told you not to watch the Instagram story. But this whole encounter hurt because it was just really a wet blanket thrown on top of an otherwise insanely awesome morning. And I say insanely awesome because what we did was insane to do. I'm a stranger who snuck into her apartment and went down on her with her consent, even though she'd never met me. And we had an awesome time. Nothing like being slut shamed before noon by a family member. You know what I mean? And it also, so it hurts on that level of just like, wow, like I'm not allowed to talk about my sexuality in on my own shit now. But the other part of it is kind of like very invalidating because this is my career. This isn't a hobby. I'm not Jim from the accounting department. I'm not oversharing or doing TMI because I'm an idiot or because I need to brag. I mean, oversharing is the job. This is what I do. This is what you all tune in for. This is what many of you pay me for. So to be treated like I'm just like her family member posting explicit sex stuff on the internet and it's in poor taste, negating what I do for a living, that also hurt because I work really fucking hard at what I do. And I really can, expose myself here. It's not all just about the sex and fucking and pussy licking, right? I have cried on this show so many times at this point over the last 4 years. So all that was not fun for me. But, just to let you all know, this is some of the things like I have to push back against. Sometimes I have to push back against it from people I went to high school with or strangers on the internet, and sometimes from my own family. I was just kind of shocked that it was this particular family member. There are other family members this would totally fit more for. And so since I'm so explicit and so graphic and so offensively sexual on my social media, clearly y'all should be following me on Instagram. I think if you take away anything from this sad story, you got to go follow me on Twitter and Instagram. Clearly at the Billy Procida, because I'm posting sexiness that is too much for certain people. Let's talk about happier things. Man HorrorCon, everybody. Man HorrorCon is coming up. Yes. And I've got another announcement. I got something to say. I got something to share with you. My birthday is June 5th. And I want to celebrate it by giving away 2 stupidly inexpensive weekend passes to ManwhoreCon here in New York City for this August, okay? I'm giving away on June 5th 2 $25 weekend passes to the first 2 people who use the promo code Billy29. The tickets will go live at midnight Eastern Time on June 5th. They will be live for exactly 24 hours. If you want to claim them, I recommend putting a little reminder in your calendar for June 5th to be like, oh no, go get those passes. Now, how much money does that save you? Well, right now, early bird discounts are still available at $75, and those prices go up on June 3rd to the full price of $95. So you're going to save $70 by doing this. And that $70 could go towards your flight, towards your hotel. That could be your drinks for your fan whore bar crawl. So celebrate my birthday with me by snatching up those passes, because if they're not grabbed by the end of June 5th, they are gone. Again, the website is manwhorepod.com/tickets. And we're going to have sexy swag bags again this year. Sexy swag bags full of wonderful tchotchkes and things from all of our sponsors. And I am prepared to share with you my very first sponsor. Yes, this year, ManwhoreCon, one of our sexy supporting sponsors will be Uber Lube. Yeah, Uber Lube. It's a very high-end, wonderful lube. Highly recommended to me by the folks at Babeland. I went in one time and was like, yo, me and the girlfriend, we're looking to do some butt stuff, some stuff in them, some stuff in me. What do you recommend? And just right away, the clerk was like, I don't know, dude. Uber Lube really is the answer. And I'm like, all right. And oh boy, was it good. So I've got a big ass heavy box in my living room unopened that is apparently filled with free lube from them that we will be giving away at ManwhoreCon, just to give you another reason to come out. So go back to looking at flights and hotel prices, or calling your friend who has a couch in New York, because ManwhoreCon is going to be off the chain. And are you nervous about the finances? Don't know if you can swing it, but you're otherwise available? Oh gosh, there is still time to submit to win the ManwhoreCon Scholarship Fund, which is currently at over $500. Yes, we're giving away over $500 to one lucky fan whore who shows me in a video why they are my biggest fan and how they share this show with the world. Now, some people have expressed concern to me. They said, well, Billy, is there going to be like an objective panel, or is this just you picking which girl shows you her tits that are the nicest? Let me just reiterate for a moment. Titties will not be enough to win you this money. If you send me a video saying like, oh my God, I'm such a huge fan, here are my boobs, it will be much appreciated, and I'll probably jerk off to it, but that's not enough to win the money, okay? Now, unless you're going to like a bar and you're telling all the dudes at the bar, you'll flash them if they subscribe to my podcast, and you get that whole experience on video. See, that's a good creative submission video. But titties alone shall not win you. So again, show me a video of 5 minutes or less telling me why I should pick you as my biggest fan and send you to New York City for ManwhoreCon this August. You can send that over to manwhorepod@gmail.com by June 1st. Over $500. I mean, that's a plane ticket and a couple nights at a hotel. That's a plane ticket and your food and drink money. That's a lot. That can make a really wonderful weekend for you. Now let's get to your emails, people. Your emails, because after those shitty text messages from that family member, I need some nice words. If you haven't been given enough reasons to attend ManwhoreCon and meet your fellow fan whores this August, well, I got this email from Jay. And, well, Jay attended ManwhoreCon last year with his wife, who is a total babe. And I guess he wants more of you to come on out to ManwhoreCon this year to meet him and his babe wife, because he sent me this email, unsolicited, titled MWC Testimonial. He writes, "Hey Billy, you mentioned in this week's show intro that some fans were nervous about attending ManwhoreCon, so I thought I'd share some perspective on the amazing time we had last year. First, and probably most important, you were an incredible host. Organized, on time, and charming. We arrived at the check-in spot nervous and unsure, which I guess is normal given both the sexuality associated with the podcast and the informal nature of ManwhoreCon. We approached your table a bit cautiously, observed from a distance for a few seconds, and then presented ourselves. Any anxiety was instantly relieved by your welcoming and friendly nature. The table, the prepared event folders, and the presence of an intern were very legitimizing actions. We were instantly comfortable. After introductions, we headed into the village for a few beers to tune up before events started. Yeah, he's the type of guy who uses the phrase tune up, just to let y'all know. Cool guy. The first events were icebreakers that energized the crew of participants. We got to act a bit outrageously, which was thrilling, and the unfazed reaction of New Yorkers just pumped us up more. From then on, it was a wild ride of Billy-inspired antics, learning experiences, great new friends, and what turned into an impressive tour of New York City. We rolled out of Penn Station at 9 a.m. that morning and made it to our hotel at 3 a.m. the next day. It was an unforgettable experience. We participated in everything and never felt pressure. There were some extracurricular activities at night during the fantastic pub crawl. But, those were, of course, between consenting participants. The next day, we sacked up and met for a noon happy hour before heading into the events of day 2. Again, we ranged all over Lower Manhattan and got to see a live Man-Whore podcast before settling into a swanky Midtown apartment for a Man-Whore-Con after party. Felt like a celebrity doing that. You were great, events were great, no drama, no pressure, and sponsors supported you tremendously. We were a bit worried at first about fitting the age range, but it turned out that the crew varied over a span of 25 years of totally cool life experience. We instantly registered for Man-Whore-Con 2 and can't wait to go. Smooches, Jay. Well, shit, that's a ringing endorsement. So again, if you're considering coming on out, go get your weekend pass at manwhorepod.com/tickets. This next message from a listener is actually in regards to our bonus episodes, which I don't typically hear about. I don't get statistics on the bonus episodes, so I don't know who's listening to them, how many people listen to them, whether or not you like them. I rarely hear about them, but I put them up anyway. And because as y'all know, if you're a member of my fan-or community on Patreon, you get access to bonus episodes of the Man-Whore podcast. And right now there's about 100 bonus episodes up there. So if you're one of those people who you've finished binging through all the back catalog and you're like, I want some more Man-Whore. There is more Man-Whore on Patreon. This guy writes, hey man, I've been binging the bonus episodes and love hearing old guests talk again. It gives me a warm, nostalgic feeling that reminds me of finding your content for the first time back in 2016. I've been a big fan for a while, so I was surprised that you had a myriad of stories I had no idea about. And some I remember getting the sample of and wanting to hear more. I'm fairly young still and have been listening to you during some particularly formative years in my sexuality, so you have a very special place in my heart, Mr. Persida. I hope to be able to buy you a beer sometime before one of us croaks. Well, that one ended pretty morbidly, but before that last dark note, very fantastic message to receive. Glad, Archie, that you're enjoying the bonus episodes on Patreon. Keep binging through. Keep forming that sexuality to whatever the fuck it turns out to be. And you too can, write in, send me your comments, your questions, your titty pictures, your criticisms. If you think that my Instagram story is too graphically sexual and objectifying. To manwhorepod@gmail.com. All right, and now for this week's guest, Jennifer. Oh, what a dream. Jennifer is a friend of mine. She is a member of the Hacienda community here in lovely New York City. And I explained this in the episode, but this is her third time recording, and this is the first time you're going to hear her, which is unfortunate because she's so magical and fantastic. We got into so many awesome topics. I'm not even going to give her too much of an introduction other than to say she's kind of one of the most upbeat, bright, and positive people I know. So we're talking about polyamory. We're talking about sex parties. We're talking about positivity. We're talking about sex work. Let's go ahead and chat with my friend, Jennifer. You're allowed to experience that or share that, although I don't believe that negativity exists in your body. I feel like you expelled it a long time ago.
Oh, no, I still work on it in myself, but yeah. Oh, but I'm good.
Yeah. Well, that was one of the fun things about you on the live podcast where I was like, okay, I'm going to put her at the end because no matter what happens, I know we'll end on a positive smiley note. We'll have this beautiful mermaid of a human just come on out and like kind of ease the tension of whatever maybe happens. And thank God I did it that way because, oh boy, was there tension.
Oh, yes, there was.
Oh, man. So I am here with the wonderful, magical Jennifer. And this is your third time on this podcast.
Yes.
And this is the first time anyone's hearing your voice. I have somehow managed to record multiple times with you. And yet this is the first time anyone from my listenership is hearing you. You did a segment for an episode that ended up never happening where it was about like how to throw a kick-ass sex party.
Yeah.
And we talked about you as the costumer decorator.
Yes.
Then you were on the Epic Live podcast back in October, which ended up not getting recorded because the People's Improv Theater fucked me. And so I was like, we need to get her on. We need to make sure it works. I was like, we got battery. We got space on the memory card. It's happening.
Wonderful.
So why don't you go ahead and say hello?
Hi, everybody.
No need to be shy. Before we get into like, I guess the context of us, the live show I found so fascinating. And I don't know how you feel about it, and we'll get into that. But, you know, you were on stage. Mm-hmm. It was me and 4 ex-partners, lovers, etc. on stage with me in front of a paying audience, really giving it to me.
Yes, they were a tough crowd.
The crowd or my exes?
Well, actually, your exes were much tougher.
Yeah,
Yes.
I felt like the crowd was fine. I mean, I had people coming up to me after the show being like, that was raw and real and beautiful.
Good.
You got the shit kicked out of you, but like I loved watching it. That's the feedback I got.
That's good. Yeah, that's good comedy.
What was that like being on stage? What was it like in the green room? It was you, Emily the Lee from episode 14, and Rachel Schenk, who were all on the show with you. What was that like in the green room being with them? Because y'all didn't know each other.
Yeah, no, we had just met in the green room. They're wonderful women, and but it was interesting to see like how many different walks of life. Like I don't know if you actually have like a type, you know?
Nope.
Like they were all like very uniquely different, but all like super like awesome and open and like ready to be on stage, you know, ready to just lay it out there. Like, and so maybe is that a type, you know, outgoing women, like,
outgoing women who for some reason want to get naked with me. That's my type.
That's a good type to have.
Patience is also heavy amounts of patience is also a common factor, I find.
Oh.
To date me, you got to have some patience because I'm going to be a handful. What was it like? So in the green room, what was the interactions like?
Like we were just talking about like what each of us does for a living, and like where do we meet Billy? Like how did we date and for how long? And and where we were at now, like still friends and such. Yeah. So yeah, they were all like really excited to like just be there and like toss it around, and like they're kind of happy to like wanting to like roast you a bit too. Oh, yeah.
I know Lee and Emily were definitely excited. Rachel was just so much fun because Rachel got up there and she didn't tell me, which is comedically the right choice, but didn't tell me she completely had no recollection of our time together. And that was like perfect way to start the show. I was like, yes. But also, oh fuck.
Our time together was so good that I don't remember it.
Yeah, apparently. I was like, who forgets seeing Avengers opening nights? What? So did anyone share anything like memorable backstage that you remember?
Oh, there was like some, there was like some similarity in dates and stuff, but
like what?
Like just you have a common like miscommunication style with to put it nicely.
How would you put it less nicely? It's okay. You won't hurt me.
It's like, how do I explain it? It's kind of like it's like men are from Mars when women are from Venus type of thing. It's like common, like women expecting you to like read your mind kind of a thing, and you're just like, huh? Like.
So backstage, they were like, Billy's kind of an idiot, right? And
yes,
you all were
pretty
like,
much.
yeah, okay,
yes, indeed.
Cool, good to know.
That was the consensus.
That was fun. And then you got on stage and you were last. So each woman came on stage for 10, 15 minutes apiece. And I left them on stage, which, not the smartest move as the ex. Brilliant move as a producer.
Yes.
So, the first Rachel comes out and then we talk and then I leave her with a microphone. And so when Lee comes on, Rachel can interject and that would happen with each thing. So when you came on, all three women had the opportunity to be able to like jump in and be like, hold on a minute, And what was that like listening to all of these things before you?
I was kind of like, yeah, I could see him doing that. Like, just, and then I was like, aw, but watching these wonderful blunders get rehearsed on stage, like, it was really funny for me.
So like, yeah, we went on like a couple dates. We fooled around a bit, like, once at my place, we fooled around at Hacienda, which was a really. You were one of the examples of like very clear communication of like saying what one wants. Because we were like making out and then you just stopped me and were like, so I've had like a lot of sex. So my pussy is very sore. Would you like to have some butt sex? The way you said it was just. Mwah. I was like, I don't know. I've never really been asked that way so enthusiastically before.
I enjoy that, and I'm happy I'm happy my excitement around that got you ready to play. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
do you go to play parties often?
Not as often anymore, but I've been to a bunch.
How'd you get into that world?
Oh my gosh. I was dating someone who is already like well enveloped in this world, and yeah, they were like, well, have you been to this type of party before? And I had like heard about it and like thought about it, but like I had only been invited by people I wasn't interested in interacting with before. So I was like, well, if you're inviting me to one and, and you're saying that the people there are like awesome and I should try it out, let's give it a try. I'll go. And if I don't like it, I'll leave. And so I had this lover take me to a party and it was amazing. And I didn't really play like my first party. I just kind of like walked around and looked around and, and like
browsed.
I browsed and I like flirted with a pretty girl and made out in the corner with her and, but yeah, I browsed and I got to like, see how people play and interact and like where the friendships are. And it was really awesome. Yeah.
What was so awesome just about being there as your first party?
Oh, just seeing like people like so ready to get it on, like just like really like people just turned on and friendly and happy and everyone seemed really respectful of each other. And it was just like, wow, like this is a space, like this is a party. Yeah. Like people are really enjoying their sex in front of each other, like, and like celebrating it and you can really feel it. Like, yeah.
Yeah. That's what I loved about the vibe. Like going to Hacienda, I was always like, oh, like this seems like no matter what you are or what you're into or who you're into or what you do or don't do, like you're cool to be here and everyone's going to be friendly. And there's just like a really awesome sexual vibe. Yeah. Where like, even if you didn't do anything, you want to go home and masturbate, just thinking about the vibe of the party. There's like it's like an energy you feel just being there.
Yeah. It's an energy, like, and when people were flirting with me and I didn't feel like playing, I was like, oh no, I'm not really like up to it right now. And they were like, okay, no problem. And we just continued the conversation. Like it was just a normal thing. I never felt any like pressure or anything. So it was just kind of like this really great sense of freedom just to like be okay with just being there and just enjoying it and like loving it. Yeah.
The most common question I get from people when they're asking about orgies, they're like, well, if I go, do I have to have sex with people? And it's like, no, like, I mean, unless you want to, like,
right. Yes.
It's your choice. Like there's this, somehow this misconception is out there that if you enter a sex party, you're automatically consenting to do whatever to people and let people do stuff to you.
Right. Yeah. And it's also like the same thing. If you go to a bar, you don't have to drink. You could be meeting friends there and like you can just have like a soda. Like, you know, you don't have to. Like, but yes, essentially do people go there to enjoy that certain thing, you know? So it's like, yeah, this is available here and it's awesome, but it's not mandatory that you do it. Like, yeah, I get you.
Yeah. So you didn't feel weird not playing at that first experience?
No.
Yeah.
There's plenty of people to talk to. Like there was a beautiful hot tub. Like, yeah, it was a party. It wasn't just about the sex. Like there was good dancing as well. And yeah.
And that's the sign. I think that's a sign of a good play party where it does feel like just a party where like there's sex going on, but it's really just a party as opposed to a place where you walk in and there's just like 9 mattresses and people are just fucking. That's less fun for me.
Yeah.
I want to socialize in case like, you know.
Yeah, and like the beauty of like socializing around sex, you know, you could be talking to a friend and all of a sudden something hot is going on in the corner and you're like, oh wow, like, you know, like so it's like it adds like an extra element to an event. And it's like having it just be about the sex is like so one dimensional. It's not as enjoyable as having it be a well-rounded party.
Yeah. And what was it like the first time you did finally play in public like that?
Oh, that was, I spent like 45 minutes going down on someone and I was so enveloped in her pussy that by the time I turned around, I didn't realize that people were even watching. But my close friends who were watching, were just like, wow, you know?
And that was your first time doing stuff with anyone like in a big group like that?
Yeah. Like, yeah, basically. And that was really great. And I was like, oh, I never thought I could do this. Like, with, you know, but as long as you're like, you know, keeping in your own zone. And like, I really enjoyed that other people enjoyed what I enjoyed and what I just did as much as I did. Like, awesome. Like,
when you noticed everyone was watching, did you keep going or did you kind of go like, oh no, there's an audience?
No, they were like, because they were like respectful about like their distance. I didn't feel their gaze like heavily.
There's no one with like a foam number 1 finger be like, Jen's number 1, use 1 finger.
No. So yeah, I just carried on. I was like, oh cool. Like, and then once I saw them and see how happy they are watching me, I'm like, oh yeah, I'll keep going.
It's like an extra element.
Like, yeah.
Going to parties, like if you know, sometimes I had an ex who like we were sometimes the first ones playing at a bar. We'd be like the first ones in the basement fucking a couple of times, and people would just, they're not having sex yet, but they'd come and watch and they'd be like, all right, me in a body I normally fucking hate right now for this like 10-15 minutes, people are watching me being like, yeah, go that guy. He's like, he's doing things. He's out there. He's having sex in public. And I'd be like, yeah, it like makes me feel sexy. I'm like, yeah, the performative aspect of it all.
Yeah.
I really dig it.
It's really cool.
And so when you tasted the whole play party thing, did you start going to more? Did you only go to one? Okay.
Yeah, I was going to one every month. Yeah, it was terrific.
You were one of those.
Yeah. Oh yeah, one of those. Yes. I loved it.
Did you find it as part of like your core sexuality that you need, or could you take or leave going to parties?
I feel like I'd at least want two a year minimum. Like, yeah, I mean, I don't miss going every month, but I definitely would like to go once or twice a year and have like a big, like, you know, wonderful, glamorous, fun, sexy time. Yeah.
They're fun. And I think sometimes like I have trouble. Sometimes when I date, like some women get weirded out by it that I've been. And I go like, oh, just because we date doesn't mean you have to go to parties with me.
Oh, right. And yeah, they think it's part of like your whole being, like like it's a mandatory thing.
Yeah, it's like if I date Billy, do I have to get gangbang like once every other month? I'd be like, no. Gangbangs are like maybe once a year for me. No, it's but just the idea, like, no, that's not, because it's fun to do, but it's not like part of my core sexuality. Like, you know, like a spanko who's like, no, I need to be spanked to be fulfilled sexually. I don't have that. It's just, but it's like a fun thing. I always thought before I had like explored polyamory and non-monogamy, I was like, oh, well, you know, if I was ever monogamous, I would still tell the girlfriend, I'd be like, well, I still want to be able to go to these parties. I just won't do anything with anyone. Because I'd be like, well, it's a party. My friends are there. It's a fun atmosphere, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes you just go to see your friends and like, oh, maybe something will happen. Maybe something won't. Like, you know, like you don't really like plan it per se. Like you just check in with yourself and your body when you're there that day and like see how it goes. But yeah, like exactly. Like it's not a mandatory like thing. Like I'd be just all right without it. But it is fun. Like
yeah. So I think a lot of people, one of the questions we tend to explore here, especially when it's someone who like, it wasn't like one random Tinder date or something, or especially when someone I'm still friends with and every like once in a blue moon, like share an intimate space with. It's like, why don't we play around more often? Which is not me going here, Jen, why don't we fuck? I want to more. Why don't you fuck me? But like we went out, we grabbed drinks, we fooled around a few times, and then like, what are these like factors that go into when you want to see someone again or not?
I mean, for me, it doesn't have anything to do with skill level. But I think it just has to do with my own personal vibe and attraction with that person at the time. Like sometimes it's like you have a really great energetic connection, like smell, taste, touch, all those things. And sometimes that like vibes out. But I think when we had our fling, I was too busy because I had other partners. Yeah. And I decided that I couldn't really fit another partner in my life at that time. Yeah. Like, and so I didn't want to pursue like more, so sometimes it just gets polysaturating.
Yeah. Does that happen to you often in polyland?
Well, yeah, every now and then I get like polysaturated and I have to like just utilize my nose a lot, You
utilize your nose?
No,
you're
the word
okay.
no, the word no.
I thought you were like, no, well, when I start making the cut list, I'll be like, well, how do I like their smell? That is the tiebreaker. Is it gonna be Jill or Ben? I don't know. Well, which one do I like? Which one smells pretty? All right, Ben, it is. Come on over here. Do you ever like just sit down and start writing out, like do a check-in where like, what partners do I have? And then you get shocked by how many people you're either romantically with or sexually involved with or whatever. Do you ever kind of like forget like maybe how vast your little web is at times?
I have written down all my past partners.
Well, past partners, especially someone who looks like you, I'm sure, as a sexually vivacious woman as yourself, it's quite the list, I'm sure.
Indeed.
But I meant more like when, like in the moment, like at any given time, like be like, okay, right now, feeling a little polysaturated. What is, what are all my partner situations right now? And then you kind of visually look at them. I don't know if you've ever done that.
I do. Yeah, I do. And then I also look at like the emotional parts, and it's like I know this partner is kind of tertiary, and like, how is he feeling about that? Like, would it be kinder for me to like let him go, or like let me check in, and it actually, I check in with that partner, and then he's actually like, well, I work so much that I'd actually rather just see you like once a month. Like,
it's like, actually, this is perfect.
This is perfect for me, and I totally like get that, and thank you for asking. Yeah, so it's like it's good to like do that and like check in and see where that is, and it doesn't necessarily mean that I'll have playtime if we do have a date, but it does mean like out of respect for that person and their time, like, and their relationships, like how to like manage that.
I think there's a lot of talk when people talk about polyamory and relationships and elevating or de-escalating or whatever relationships. Talk a lot about primary partners, or even like secondary partners if you're doing the hierarchy model. But there's not a lot of talk about these like you said, like tertiary people kind of on the outside who are like, these are occasional sexual partners who I also enjoy their friendship. Yeah. I don't think we ever like talk about how to, I guess, discuss that because I don't know. I feel like that's a weird thing to say. Like, hey, so like I see you as a tertiary partner. Like, how do you feel about that? I feel like that's almost that could very easily being an insulting thing to say.
It could. Well, it's only insulting if the other person thinks you're something more. Like,
true.
Yeah, like if they're like unaware of like some people prefer to know where they stand in terms of relationship with you, like, and that's a comforting thing because that gives them the knowledge of like knowing like how much time and energy to dedicate to you, like
I definitely like to know where I stand. I mean, me, a lot of people don't like me, and I'm just like, can I just know that you don't like me? Just so I know where I stand. I can't. I'm too dumb to try to read these social cues.
It's better than being fake nice. Just be kind and be like, I'm not really into you. Okay, cool.
That's fine,
and that's great. Done.
Just
no fake nice.
So how do you? So for example, when you mentioned this person, you go like, maybe he works a lot and he's actually okay with that. But how do you do that check-in without possibly being insulting or devaluing whatever it is that y'all have?
Well, I kind of like do a little mini like relationship review, be like, hey, like we've been dating like 2 years now, and I know
You use the word dating,
like,
even if it's just someone you're maybe sleeping with once in a while.
Yeah, like because we go on dates.
Sure.
Yeah,
Fair.
That's the only reason. But yeah, like, hey, I know we've like dated off and on. Like, I can tell you're not looking for, more, but I'll also like, is this okay with you on my end? Like, because you know about my other partners. And so like, I'll bring up the other partners and, I like to make sure everyone knows each other as much as they want to know each other. And yeah, it's just about having a conversation, just like treating it like it's not a big deal, because it's not. And unless you can tell it is like something deeply hurtful for the other person, they're like, no, wait, really, I want more of your time. And then it's like, okay, well, I don't have more time to give you. I think it's better if we split split ways. Yeah. And that's better than like dragging someone along.
Yeah.
And that's not cool. Like, it'd be horrible if they thought that you were like ghosting them too.
Exactly.
Like that's like, I feel like ghosting is like that new form of emotional abuse in dating nowadays. And it's like, no, like don't ghost someone. Just be like, no, I'm not interested. Or I am, but I'm super busy and I just can't right now.
Or even worse, have you heard about that thing called benching?
No.
It's kind of like, it's like ghosting with intent to revisit. Like ghosting is fading away and you're in lieu of breaking up, and benching is, I want to keep you around just in case other shit falls through.
Oh man!
But I don't want to break off entirely because I don't want I don't want to lose that sexual opportunity. And so, I didn't want to like bench this person or whatever, but I also wanted to remind them like they exist and I've just been busy or not feeling super sexy lately. And and you don't want people to think you're ghosting, because that's the thing we all fucking hate these days, right?
Right. Yes.
Yeah. How'd you get introduced into Polyland?
Oh, into Polyland.
Which came first, the poly or the sex parties?
The poly.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I had come out of like a really long monogamous relationship.
Oh, I always forget that about you. I always forget.
Like a 9.5 year relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I'm so ancient.
What was that about? Because I am right now like in a basement surrounded by magic, just unicorn this and mermaid that, and you would never think this person lays it down with one individual for 9.5 years.
Right. I know this much magic cannot be contained with just one person.
It was a fella, right?
It was a guy. Yeah, it was a guy, and it was from like 15 years old to like 26. So yeah, and then I spent like 2 years single, and then I tried to like date in New York very unsuccessfully, and I was like, is this how people date? Gross. Like,
well, what was that big long relationship like? I mean, 9.5 years is longer than a lot of marriages. That's
true. I was like loyal and kind of young and naive, and I think like he turned into like a different kind of. We both turned into different kind of adults.
Older or your age?
Like a year older.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was 15, he was 16 when we met. And then we like dated all throughout like being like teenagers and all throughout college. And it was just like, I was so busy and focused in college that it was just my normal relationship. It was like, okay, we have our like weekly date. And then we ended up like living together for 3 years and like played house and like got a dog. That's what you do when you're a couple. Yeah. Like, yeah. So yeah, but we just like matured differently as an adult. And I realized like after becoming an adult and like living with someone, I realized how incompatible in a lot of ways I was, like not just sexually, also emotionally. And like there was some abuse involved in there on his part, and like he got into drugs, and yeah, so I was just like, okay, I'm out of here. Like,
what makes you what's that point where you call that off though? It's 9.5 years. It's not that like cute 2-year relationship that's kind of easy-ish to /9.
Yeah. Well, I think when he got into drugs, I was like, I was not handling it very well, but I was like, I didn't want to throw it away, so we went to couples therapy for 6 months. So, and the couples therapy like dug a lot of like secrets out. Yeah, and then so yeah, in couples therapy, I was like, it just reaffirmed my already existing belief that we weren't right for each other, and it was kind of a savior in a way for me to like get out of this relationship, like get out, which is really ultimately best for me because I was already very creative, but this is like 10 times more creative than I was then. Yeah. So, so it just like let me like, I feel like my creative energy and my sexual energy are like one and the same. So, so it really let me like explore that and like broaden that. And it's been way better for me to get out of that particular relationship. But yeah.
Do you think you'd still be in it if you didn't do the couples therapy?
No, I just think it would have gotten much darker before I ended it. Like I think it would have been more disastrous before I would have had to pull the plug because I was very like raised to like stick it out, you know, like he loves you, stay with him kind of mentality, like, which is not helpful if he's not a good person.
Right.
Like, no. Yeah. So yeah. Yeah, I might have stayed a little bit longer, but it would have been a disaster and it would have ended anyway. So I'm glad that I did that.
Because like, you know, 20 somethings isn't necessarily like the core demo for couples therapy. That's not who they're targeting in their ads or anything. You know?
No, not early 20s. Yeah.
What did it feel like to go to couples therapy at 26, 25?
Yeah, 25. It felt weird, like, because it was like
because you saw your aunt in the waiting room. Because it was like, oh, why are we the youngest ones here?
It was like something's really drastically wrong, and I don't know why, and I need a professional, like, you know, to like kind of like help me break it down, yeah, and like help me like heal from this and get through this, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
So then, how do you go from this to polyamory?
Well, I tried like open dating and, I found like the artist burner community and I found their parties and I was like really inspired by all their costuming. And, I was like looking for someone, you know, kind of more creative like myself. Cause I feel like they'd be better compatibility for me. And then I realized,
Hey Jen, I don't know if you noticed, but, I'm a creative person. No, keep going. Still trying. No.
Really? Yeah. So yeah, I just felt it was a better dating pool for me, like to be around more creative people. And I realized that a lot of like the really smart creative people that I'm interested in, they also sometimes have different ways of dating, and it included polyamory. And I was like, what's that? You know, like, well, how do you do that? And I was like, oh, you guys all know each other and talk to each other, and like, you know, and you can explore different things, and like everything's okay because you're like taking care of each other, like physically, emotionally. Like, what's all this? Like,
she knows about her, and it's fine. What?
Like, yeah, so I feel like it was an advanced way to explore relationships, and I was like, I want to try that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it also comes with homework because you'd be like, what's that? And they throw a stack of books at you.
Oh, yes, this is true.
They're like, here's 5 books to start.
Yeah, it's like you
like it's like yeah, monogamy is monogamy, but like non-monogamy is great, but like also comes with a lot of reading.
It is like I mean there's a lot more deeper truths that come out of it that are like really, I feel it's really worth it to explore if you're interested in it. But I feel like monogamy had me really like stagnant in relationships, like it kind of like, okay, like I felt like I was just following a program, you know, like I was just like, here, this is how you do it, and you know, you must stay in this relationship XYZ, and this means that, and like versus like polyamory, which lets you be a little bit more creative and lets you like, yeah,
customize.
Lets you customize. Like if I was customizing a costume, you know, customizing my dating life based to like what my like emotional, physical like time needs are.
And negotiating the terms of a relationship or various relationships takes a level of creativity if you hit initial roadblocks where it's like, well, this is what I'm comfortable with. I'm not comfortable with that. Okay, now, but what about this? Or you start thinking of like alternative ways. Like you're like, well, I'm not comfortable with you doing anal with other people. Be like, oh shit, I really love doing it. How about if like once a month I can go have anal with somebody else, this other partner? Okay, we could do that. Or like just coming up with like interesting solutions. I think there's like this inherent creativity to not going with the prescribed norm.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. Or you could have one partner that loves anal sex and the other partner's like, hell fucking no. you know, like, yeah. So it's like, okay, like go do that thing you love with this person. And that's cool with me because I know you love it. And then I love you and I want you to have it. Yeah.
That's fantastic. It's beautiful. And then also now you're off to, and so you are in right now a long distance relationship, which normally I would say dumb. But
I have so much love here too.
You have so
that
much
I'm
love here. There's all this love going around.
Yeah.
You can have love in whatever state that person's in, and then also, you have things going on here.
Yes. Yes, you can.
And that's been going on. That's been going on well.
Yeah, it's been going on since Halloween, and so I have my primary partner who lives in Denver, and but we talk every day, and we have like a really like super deep emotional connection that we maintain through this connection, and and when I see him, we could be physical, and that's awesome. Yeah. But like, for now in New York, I have very loving other partners. I have this wonderful couple I'm dating. I have this wonderful submissive boy pet that I have, and they each like fill different like desires and fantasies for me, and I fulfill for them as well. So yeah, it's this like unusual kind of like magical, artistic, creative way of being. Yeah. Yeah.
And what are the different fantasies, different relationships fulfill?
Well, the couple I'm dating, I'm kind of like a unicorn. I like to, unicorn being the white female who's magic and wants to visit the love of this couple, right? And it kind of like reinforces. I get to like really see how deeply like they love each other, and I get to like witness that, and like sometimes partake in it as well. So I get to like experience like, being having wonderful threesomes with them. Yeah. And also I have a submissive wonderful boy pet cat, and
pet cat. You have a pet cat. And you're talking about a human.
A human.
But
about a human. Yes.
You have a pet cat.
Yes.
Human.
Yeah. So just like cat. A little bit of like pet play.
What? Like... Yeah. Do tell about this pet play. We read a lot about it in the news. Don't really get to hear as much about it from regular sane people like yourself.
Yes. Yes. And so basically, like, like it involves costuming, which I love as a costume designer, and cat ears, cat tail, and kind of like just getting into the headspace of being another creature, and like, purring, petting, light scratches, things like that.
You're also a kitty,
yeah,
correct?
I'm also a kitty. I'm actually a pet kitty to my master, who's my primary partner in Denver. Yeah. So that's like where I get to be in that space. And so that fulfills like that part of me.
So what is it about pet play? What is it that like, what does that do for you? Like why? I think a lot of people hear about pet play.
Right.
I think your regular Joe or Jane on the street go like,
huh?
Dog, puppy play. Why would one want to do that? Why would you want to dress up like a panda and eat bamboo while someone blows you? Why would you want to do such things? So what?
I'm like, why not?
Right. But so what does that fulfill in you to dress up like, I mean, I think, do you find that to be a core part of your sexuality? Like we were talking about before.
Yeah. I mean, I can definitely like have and enjoy lots of sex without being in that particular role. But definitely the pet play is like, it's definitely a role play for me, but I really get to like, kind of like step into that like nature, that like feline sexual energy, and like really like embrace it, and when I'm being like kind of like a top energy to like a submissive cat, I can be kind of like a puma or tiger, like a very aggressive female cat energy. And but when I'm in the opposite space, I can be like a very cute kitten, and I can be like a sweet cute kitty, good kitty.
Oh, I've seen you in sweet good kitty mode. It is adorable.
Yes,
it's very cute. It's very cute. What made you? Was there a moment when you realized you were a kitty? Where you realized you were a kitty? Like, I mean, do you pick an animal? Do you figure out what animal you are on the inside that's not on the outside? Or
right. That's a very good question. Well, for me personally, I'd always gravitated towards dressing up like a cat ever since I was little. Okay. So like it started out with Halloween and like being a cat, but then I started dressing up like as a cat when I was little, like just on my own. Like not even Halloween, just like I'm gonna put on my cat ears and run around the house, like just enjoying like being a little creature.
Going to school with cat ears, be like, why? It's not Halloween. It's Tuesday. I just want to.
It's Tuesday. It feels cute. Like I'm enjoying myself. What's wrong with you? No, what's wrong with you? Like, let me enjoy myself. But yeah, so it's just about like enjoying yourself through a form of play. Yeah, it's really about artistic freedom expression through playing as a character, playing as a role, like really kind of embodying those features of that, you know, whether it's a puppy or a kitty or like a panda, you know. I like that example.
Well, I think I know someone. I think I know someone who, like, his boyfriend. I think his boyfriend's a panda.
Yeah. Oh, yes,
think.
that's true. Yes, you do. Yeah.
I think if we were talking about the same person. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which is the only
really cute.
only panda play I've ever heard of.
Then there's bunnies, you know, Playboy bunnies.
But
you
yeah,
know?
but bunnies you hear
like,
about. I think you hear about puppies, bunnies, kitties, maybe some bears.
Oh yeah, bears.
But I never heard about panda. You know, panda
That's
play.
a new one.
That's a new one. When I saw them post their little dress ups, I was like, okay, that's the thing. Did you get to explore the kitty play when you were with the 9.5-year boyfriend?
No, he didn't like costumes enough. I felt a little bit repressed.
But you wanted to.
I wanted to.
You pitched it.
I wanted to, and he was just like he was just not feeling it. Like, and that made me sad. And like, I was like, well, I want to try this. I want to, no, okay. You know, like sad face. Like, yeah, but at least I tried.
Was he down to try like anything that you were pitching that was a little different?
No, not much. He was pretty... shall we say vanilla? But
you about to say that with some stank face.
I know.
Excuse you. You are vanilla shaming, and I'm going to blog about it.
I'm sorry. But like his particular style is not my style.
Sure.
Yeah, but
now
totally.
you get to be the kitty that you always known you were.
Yes, indeed. Yes.
Fantastic. And you're actually bringing that to the largest orgy record attempt, right?
Yes, they're gunning for the world's largest orgy attempt. They're aiming for 600 people. We're trying to beat the record from Japan. It's 500 currently.
So you're going to go out and be around 599 other sweaty people.
Perhaps. I'm not sure. I'll have to see how it is, like who attends. You know, I have to like see like how it is. And,
how are they measuring like if it constitutes an orgy? Like, does everyone have to do something at least once with someone?
No.
Or does it just have to be 600 naked people in a room?
They're literally just putting it in a room, and that's all that counts.
And then it's hoping.
And they all happen to be. So I don't technically have to have sex with anyone. I could be masturbating and have it still count as being part of the world's biggest orgies, technically. But yeah, they're a little bit loose in their interpretation, and they're just like in a room, you know, all together in a room. Just everyone go for it. Yeah.
That doesn't happen enough at sex parties, I think, is people masturbating solo to the hotness of the environment.
It doesn't happen because there's a stigma against it being creepy.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's even less so when pretty women are doing it. I think it's very specifically face dudes, that we're worried about.
Sorry, guys. Yeah.
Because there's a lot of times where I like just kind of want to hang around and just like chill in a corner and like in a not like hunched over, because like you think about the Jerky McJerkerson guy at the party, you're picturing someone hunched over, be like, you're looking great. Can I watch? I'll get you water. Can I watch? And no, I just kind of want to like. Sometimes I'm a hacienda, and sometimes I go solo. And I'll play with people, but there's a lot of times where there's like a lot of hotness going around, or like friends of mine are playing, and when they are, like I feel more liberal with touching myself. But if I'm not, I try not to encroach on anyone's space. But I would love to just chill in like the big bear, lay back, and just like really to like stroke one out, not a jerk. A jerk is a really aggressive type of masturbation.
Yeah, but like laid back, relaxed, like enjoying the whole
long,
thing,
slow strokes. Or average size strokes if you're me. That's more, I'm not, it's not particularly long. But there is that stigma, and I know there's no rule. There's no rule saying guys can't jerk off at parties. There are rules saying like, please don't encroach on people's spaces. Mm-hmm. But even if you're not, I still feel like there's this like, oh, that guy's, what's he doing?
Yeah, there is that stigma. Yep.
Are there ways that a single dude at a play party could combat that, enjoy his own body in the environment without hopefully creeping out everyone and putting off everyone around him?
I think like keeping a distance would be like from anyone's like specific like play like scene area. Like if you're just like, off to the side a little, like not encroaching in anyone's space, like. I mean, I don't find anything wrong with it, but I can't guarantee that because people still have this in their heads that it's like such a stigma. Yeah. And so I feel lucky as like a female person, you know, to be able to do that if I want to and like have it not be stigmatized. But yeah, that's a hard one. Like, I think the only way is like making sure you're not like encroaching on someone's space. Unless you're like part of a threesome, but you don't technically want to like play, but you want to be like, hey guys, I love you guys. Like, can I like be really close and watch you? And like, if your friends are like, yeah, sure. You know, like then it might be like a little bit more like done properly.
And I've been able to pull that off a couple times where I'll be like, hey, like you guys are really cute. Do you like, or if I'm just chilling around and people are near me, and I'm in a place where it's like, okay, you're not moving much, you know, tight spaces, but you know, I'm starting to get aroused, and I'd be like, hey, like, you guys okay if like if I touch myself while I'm watching, because I'm just here, we're all here, and then sometimes go, yeah, and sometimes like, no, and I think all you gotta do is ask. But I think a lot of us guys, let me speak on behalf of men for a moment. I'm just gonna stand up right here. I think we just want some rules, but unfortunately, all the rules are so subjective. Because what is the most common thing we tell dudes when it comes to dating, sex, approaching women, etc.? What do we say? Don't be creepy.
Right.
And it's like, what the fuck does that mean?
Yeah,
you know,
no one's out there teaching guys how not to be creepy. Like,
because I don't think you can. I don't think there's like I don't think there's like a checklist of things to do. Because if we said like, ask politely if it's okay to watch, I could be like, do you mind if I touch your knee?
No, I don't mind.
Okay. Hey, you guys are like really cute. Do you mind if like, I think you guys are really hot. Do you mind if I like touch myself while you guys are playing? That's one way of asking. And then there's like, I'm going to get very uncomfortably close. Oh, hey, you guys are like really hot. Can I like watch you? Now that guy's going to be like, what? I asked. You said to ask, and I asked.
Right.
But there's like this like tone of voice, these like weird things we can't teach. And it extends outside of like a dude being by himself, but just this in general, like this awkwardness around group sex where we tell people to be very explicit, but there's like these like subjective things.
There's these are kind of like cultural nuances, if you will, that like, or faux pas that kind of have to be, it'd be cool if there was like a way to teach, or like a little video, like, you know, I don't know, like maybe like a little consent video or something that could also like incorporate these kind of like subtle nuances of like how to properly ask for these things.
Social cues and things like that.
Yeah. It could even be like a comedy video. That would be pretty cool. Like with what you just did right here, because that was pretty clear. Yeah.
But I feel like no guy who is the hunched over dude thinks he's the hunched over dude.
That's true.
Until like he looks in a mirror, he's like, "Oh my god, that's me."
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've stopped guys and like told them, you know, I've had guys like pull me over, like try to hug me, and I'm like, no, that was a little too much. It was a little too creepy. And they're like, really? And I'm like, yeah, it was. You know, and then they're like, oh, okay, I'm sorry. You know, like,
I think a lot of people don't mean to be.
No, he totally did not. That was not his intention at all. And he genuinely felt sorry, but he was grateful that I told him. Yeah. And so like a lot of this sometimes has to come from like the person who's being creeped on, unfortunately, because the person who is accidentally being a creeper doesn't have any clue that they are whatsoever. So you really kind of have to like break it down in like a nice way, like not like without making them feel bad about it, because you can tell they don't know they're doing it.
Yeah.
Like, so if you can say it in like a really nice way, just be like, hey, you know, like the way you pulled me over, like not cool, guy. Like also like I experienced this at a lot of like carnival type dance parties. Like guys will just like pull you over to get your attention. Yeah. And I'm like, oh no. Yeah. Like I am not the toy. Right. Like we're going to have a little mini conversation. Like,
which has got to get exhausting for you at some point, because that's like it's a lot of
training. It's a lot of it's a lot of unpaid training that you have to do with these unfortunate like people that just don't know like how to behave.
Yeah. Like, and you're just trying to have a good time. You're like, I don't want to have to do like 10 different like mini consent workshops with someone. Right. Because they just don't know better.
Right.
Because I'm just trying to have fun. Like I'm trying to fuck some people.
And that's why like parties that have like little mini consent workshops in the beginning are like a good reminder, you know, or like I also know like House of Yes does like a consent video that I found to be very good. It was really fun and playful, and they have like some jokes like that. So So yeah, if there's any way to like break it down to like party people, like this is what's going on, you know. And I've had it happen with women too. Like women will like tug on my pasties, and I'll like give them stank face, and then be like, "Oh shit, I did something wrong." And I'm like, "You don't pull on other people's breasts, FYI. You have a pair too, honey."
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So it's like it goes all the, you know, party people in general. They, you know, it's good to be relaxed and have fun at a party, but like in a respectful, enjoyable way.
Yeah.
Like,
If you, good rule of thumb: if you don't know someone, you should ask, man or woman or anything else in between, because you know, like that woman's like tugging her pace, like, oh, like because we're just gals, right? We're gals just touching each other's tits,
no.
but she should still ask too, just as
Yeah.
if she was a dude.
Yeah, like, can I touch your breast? And like, women have asked me that, and I'm like,
Exactly.
my answer is usually yes.
Yes, it usually is.
If you ask politely, like, please go ahead. You know, like, because you put the effort out there, and like, and I think that's awesome, and I want to be playful, like. But yeah, like the whole party guest thing, like it's an etiquette. There should be like party guest etiquette, like workshops in general, not just for play parties, but especially for play parties.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a lot of work. Like, yeah. And so like, if you want your friends at a party to not have to work so hard to train you to behave well, like, you know, put a little extra thought into, you know, the event you're going to, like, but yeah. And hopefully, you know, don't be that guy. You want to be the guy. You want to be the guy who's awesome and like friendly and like respectful and like everyone likes. You don't want to be that guy.
Be the guy, not that guy. Jen, you just create a t-shirt. That's a best-selling t-shirt. I'll go halves.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. Be the guy, not that guy. Might be episode title right there.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. And yet, like in all this, like, you know, where you have like all this emotional labor at parties and things, this, that, and the other thing, and sometimes shitty relationships or whatever. It's you're arguably one of the most bright, positive, cheery, optimistic people I know outside of my mother. My mother's the type of woman where, like, if you're having a rough day, like, she'll try to cheer you up, be like, "Hey, you remember what my blood type is? Be positive." Right? That's my mom. You were like in this, like in that upper echelon of yeah, you two should brunch. Of positive thinking people. How in the face of down things do you stay so upbeat?
Yeah, 'cause, I mean, whew, yeah. I think in a weird way, having experienced a lot of like sadness or abuse or like ways that the world is not so fun to be in, having had a lot of that life experience has kind of like made it really, really clear and easy for me to see like all like the light. Like it's made it like even brighter, you could say, because it's like, hey guys, like, like I can, yeah, there are worse things in the world that, you know, that are happening right now, and it's not really worth our energy to like engage and to focus, to kind of bring things, you know, back up to positivity, back up to light, you know, like I can see it easier having experienced the opposite. Does that make sense?
A little bit, but like, what was that switch? What was the flip? I mean, or just have you always been so just like blindly positive? Like, what was that flip? What was the switch?
The flip. I mean, I just knew that, like, if you focus on, you know, why, you know, let's say that long relationship, like, why didn't that long relationship work out? You know, if you just like spend too much time focusing on it, then it makes it harder to enjoy and like really experience joy.
Yeah.
So like it's kind of it's a really good life skill to have if you can kind of like, you know, feel the pain from that old relationship, work on processing it, and kind of just like choose to focus on all the doors of happiness. Like I would have never have found this artist community. I would have never found play parties if it hadn't been for like that sad, horrible thing that happened, you know, like that relationship that died, whatever.
And so that makes does that make you not regret the bad relationship and the abuse and the terribleness?
Yeah, because I know that in some weird way that kind of had to happen in order for me to find this much joy now. Like, and to like really like be grateful and like appreciate that. is a big one. And so like everything else seems like, like sure, it takes a little extra work to go out and experience like this much joy and playfulness, but that extra work is worth it because like look how far I've come, so to speak. Like
I feel the same way about my bullying experiences, and because I don't know if we'd ever talked about it, but like I was bullied in a way, not like, oh, like we all get bullied, but I was like on a red flag list after Columbine. Like,
ooh.
Yeah, they were just like, oh man, there's this big school shooting. It was possibly because of bullying. Well, who gets bullied a lot here that they would maybe shoot up the middle school? And then it was, Precita gets has been getting the shit kicked out of him for a long, long time. And I never would have done anything like that, but that's their mindset.
Right.
And I faced that for 9 years of K through 8 and then 4 years of high school. And I don't regret it. As painful and as rough and as many times as I was worried like I might not survive this period of my life, I don't regret it now because I don't think I'd ever have turned out this fucking way if I hadn't. I don't think if I was a guy who was casually getting to like hook up with girls in high school, if I had like a lot of friends growing up, I don't think I would have stumbled my way to like some sex podcast comedy career.
Yeah. And like, isn't it the most fun career? Like, amazing.
And as I'm playing with your sequence pillow, is there a type of pillow you call this? Like where it's like it flips one side and the other?
Two-way mermaid scale or dragon scale, they call it.
Two-way dragon scale? Mm-hmm. Without all these black scales, we wouldn't end up with this mermaid scale that it is now.
That's true.
And I think that's a beautiful and optimistic way that you look at this world. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of people see like a lot of random black in it.
Yeah, it's like,
and then it's just like this is an ugly pillow right here. Right now, the way this looks is ugly. There's a lot of brightness in it, but it's just like fucking blackness. And you seem to see the world kind of like this.
Because it can be flipped back. But the thing is, you have to choose to flip it. You can see it like sex negative world or sex positive world, and which one, and like operate from that kind of mindset, operate from that way of thinking.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You were a flip. I mean, and there was a flip involved in me getting over my big long relationship breakup. In a way, you were, I guess, at least a starting point of recovery. Mm-hmm. Are you cool talking about the sex work?
Sure. Yeah.
So do you want to tell people one of your other careers?
Yes. Yeah. So I do like tantric massage work once a week.
And what is tantric massage work? Because we all know what happy ending massages is. Billy talks about them frequently. But what is tantra?
Ooh. Well, that's a very complex question. Mm-hmm. But
and not tantra like the excuse for like some cute girl on the back page to charge extra. I mean like actual tantra.
There's tantra for like yoga as well, and combination breathwork, meditation.
I just saw an event, a tantric speed dating event. I shit you not.
Oh my gosh, really? Wow.
On speeddating.com, everybody. Use the promo code Billy5. I swear I saw it and I was like, what the fuck is this? So tantric body work, sex work, what is that to you?
Right. It does incorporate elements of tantric massage. I kind of like use it's almost like Reiki meets body on body massage work. And a lot of it can be really emotionally and spiritually healing for people. Like sometimes I have clients with PTSD come and we do a lot of breath work and like talking release, and they can end up like crying on my table and having this like really emotional, like energetic, wonderful experience. So it can be like very healing in a way. So it's kind of like focusing around sexual energy and healing. And a lot of the guys that come used to be like former like prostitution addicts and things like that.
Oh.
And it kind of runs the gamut. I also have like a lot of regular guys who are just stressed out and want a nice massage and a hand job as well. Yeah. So like it kind of runs the full breadth of people.
Do you see that latter one as like kind of a lesser than version of what you do? Like, well, if all you want is like a nice massage and a hand job, we can do that, but there's such possibilities for this to be more.
Yeah, but yes, there is way more possibilities, but the thing is the person has to be open to it. You can't just non-consensually start working some magic.
If the guy shows up being like, this tantric shit is whatever, just get naked and do the thing, that's all he's going to be able to get out of it.
Right.
That's
all he's willing, or that's all he's open to receive.
Time for the fan whore appreciation moment, sponsored by, well, you, of course, the listeners. This is the part of the podcast where I like to give a few shout outs to my fan whores on Patreon. If you don't know what Patreon is, it's kind of like a monthly fan club subscription meets Kickstarter. You choose how much you pledge. Depending on how much you pledge, you get various types of rewards, which includes access to secret fan whore communities, exclusive bonus episodes of the Man Whore podcast, and so much more, which also includes a shout out on the show. So I want to say thank you right now to Adam Nori, who I took a little look at him. Looks like the fun dad. You know the fun dad? Like he goes and he plays baseball with the other dads and drinks beers, but like he's also okay if his son cries. I like that dad. He's fun dad. Thank you, man, for your support. Shelby Morell, 10 points for Gryffindor. Thank you for being awesome. Thank you for your dollars or your loonies, whatever y'all call them up there. And a shout out to Tara Jordan, fan whore Tara Jordan. The name Tara. I like the name Tara. Tara is like the name. There's a lot of fun people in this shout out. Tara's the name of like the fun girl. She hangs out with the pretty girls, but like she's like the loose cannon. We like the Taras of the world, you know? Like Tara goes to book club, but keeps pushing everyone to talk about butt stuff. She's that type of friend in the group. And that's just my guess, hopefully, about this Tara. Thank you so much for your support. And you too can become a member of my fan whore community and support this podcast for as little as $1. I've said this many times before. Every dollar counts. It literally keeps a roof over my head. It is the best way to support this show. All you have to do is head on over to patreon.com/manwhorepodcast. That's Patreon, patreon.com/manwhorepodcast. Now let's go ahead and wrap up with Jennifer. Yeah. And I reached out to you to do the live podcast. I was struggling to book it. I was having a hard time. I had two that I knew were doing it. Then I was having a hard time filling the last one or two slots. And I thought, I've wanted to have Jen on the show for forever. And maybe we can start with the live show. And when I texted you, I think I just said, hey. And you were like, oh my gosh, like I was going to reach out to you because would you be down? Like before I could even ask you to do the podcast, you were like, can we do a review exchange? And a review exchange being that like you would give me a free tantric massage session and then I would write a review for you on TER. Rest in peace, TER. Fuck you, Fosta Sesta.
Fuck you, Fosta. Yeah. Fuck you.
And so I was like, sure, but I was days out of my breakup with P. So I was a mess. I was heartbroken. I certainly hadn't been with anyone. I wasn't even really thinking. It took me, and this will sound comical, but like after the breakup, it was probably 2 or 3 days before I masturbated. Which, if anyone's rolling their eyes, that's a long time for a dude to not jerk off. 2 days, oh my! And even then, like I think like the first couple times I masturbated, like I was crying by the time I came. Like it's, it's like a sad jerk. No one wants nobody wants to see that. And so I reached out, and he's like, okay. I was like, you know what? I think at that point it had been like a week. We scheduled it for like a day that was like, that'll be 10 days after the breakup. And it was just like more of a healing thing. And it was with you, who I'm already comfortable with. So I was like, sure. And I came over here to your wonderful little magical basement. And we did that session. And as I comically introduced you at the live show later, a couple weeks later. It's like, all right, everyone, your final guest gave me a hand job, and then I immediately started crying. Everyone give it up for Jennifer.
Yay, tantric release. Yay.
But it was a very interesting experience because normally I just get like a body rub type thing.
Healing.
And, yeah.
Well, body rubs are great too.
They're great. But
any body love is great.
But you were doing something like a little bit more, and
yes,
and I was feeling it, and at the end you were like, okay, we do like a cool down, and we just like kind of like cuddled on your bed, and I just started weeping, and it was really good for me to like finally get that out, and like with a safe person to do that, and So thank you again
Yeah.
for letting me, for being there for me, even though you're, I don't know what goes through your head when like whether it be a partner who's recreational or a client, when someone just like starts crying.
It's
Genuinely, there's got to be some part of you that has something cynical in there. No, Tommy, you don't have like one cynical strain of hair. What goes through your head when like a partner starts crying, kind of unexpectedly?
just to hold them.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like it's about holding space for someone, like, and how would I want to be treated in that space, you know, like, because that person didn't feel safe enough to let that out anywhere else. And like I'm lucky. I am so like lucky and blessed to be like able to give that to someone, like for them to be able to feel safe enough to like let that release. Amazing. Like so yeah, just to like practice stillness and let them be in their own experience without me trying to like interrupt that release. Like just let them have it out.
In your head, there's nothing like, oh God, why is he crying? Or this is weird. This is awkward. None of that.
I think it's super fucked up that guys aren't allowed to cry in society. And I think there need to be more safe spaces for that shit. I feel like guys should go fucking camping together and fucking cry it the fuck out. Like, you know, like seriously. Like
your fantasy draft, whatever that is, you guys should be allowed to cry at it.
Like all of it, like all those bottled up emotions, y'all, you know, people in general, just let it out. Like, because it just stays and it goes deeper and it just manifests into something like sickness in your body, and that's messed up. Who wants that? You know, like, yeah. So like, if it can be combined, sometimes you can tantra. This type of tantra kind of uses the sexual energy to help release that, to help let it out. So, so that's kind of what's special about the work that I do.
Yeah. I think if we're excluding family members, I think in my adult life, I've like broken down and just cried in front of 2 men, maybe. Like, it's not a thing, maybe 3. Not a thing to do. I think the last one was, you know, it's just, yeah, it's wild like that we can't do that. Yeah.
And it's so, yeah, it's awful. I think more of that needs to happen. The world would be a better place.
I'm only allowed to cry like in a dark movie theater. Right. And that's when I do most of my crying.
Allowed to cry, no.
I do most of my crying in movie theaters. I cry during most any movie. Almost every movie I will tear up at some point. Yeah. And other ones, like, I will just straight up sob.
Yeah, we're supposed to feel. And like tears have like natural antidepressant in them, I swear.
Yeah? Yeah,
like I swear there's something chemically natural in tears that is like an antidepressant. Like,
and they need to bottle that shit up and make it a lube. Ooh. That's what they need to do. Tear lube. Brought to you by Calvin Klein. I don't know. I don't know who makes the tear lube.
Oh no, Tantra tear lube. Oh,
Tantra tear lube. Oh my. Now we're getting real niche.
We're getting really far-fetched with this one.
Jennifer, you as always are magical and wonderful, and thank you for sharing this space with me. Thanks for welcome. Chatting with these people. Do you have any like closing words, thoughts, or memories of your time with me?
Oh.
That you would like to end with?
Yeah. Well, yeah, thank you for letting me hold space for you in those moments that you needed healing in your life. And thank you for supporting, you know, letting everyone on here know about, you know, about what's going on right now and the reality for people who do sex work. It's really important. Big thank you. Mm-hmm.
Well, why don't you go ahead and say goodbye to everybody in your special kitty way. Oh, man, I totally forgot to ask that big, important question that I think I'm supposed to ask here on the show, which is, hey, like, are we ever going to have sex again? Like, do I have a chance? Is there a shot? Do I have any hope to hold on for? Totally forgot to ask, but that's not where the conversation went, so that's not where I took it. But like retroactively, I'm thinking, shit, I wonder if like Jen and I will ever play again. That could be fun. She's purdy. I'm so glad Jen came on the show. Let me know what y'all thought. I would love to know your reactions. We'd love to see you post about the podcast on social media. It really helps spread the word about the show. That's how we increase the listenership. That's how we increase the fan whoredom. Say something nice on Twitter or Instagram. I am at the Billy Procida. we like to use the hashtag ManWhorePodcast so I can find what you thought about the show. Next week, May 30th, 3 p.m., I am opening up my office hours once again for the Fan Whore Facebook Live Hangout. That's the 1 hour every month I go on Facebook Live and chit-chat with you people. I update you about my life, how my month's been. I ask you about how you've been doing. And we have a grand old time. Go to the Man Whore Podcast Facebook fan page. Click that like button so you don't miss out. And don't forget to put a reminder in your calendars, June 5th, midnight Eastern Time. I'm putting out 2 stupidly inexpensive weekend passes to Man Whore Con. You can get your $25 passes on June 5th and only June 5th if you're the first 1 or 2 people to use the code Billy29 at manwhorepod.com/tickets. Next week, we've got an episode with Angela Spira, co-host of the This Is Why You're Single podcast. A fantastic show I have been on. I'm going to ask her why she's still single. And, well, since when I was on their show, I had a girlfriend, and now I don't. She might ask me why I'm single again. Next week, we're going to find out. But until then, stay slutty.